And welcome to the Postmodern Art Podcast, the podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wowing the world over the platform they deserve. I'm your host, Nathan Ragland, and for today's episode, come on in, sit down. I hope you have quite the appetite today for a fantastic conversation with a sensational guest that is cooking up quite the interesting concept that I know will absolutely tantalize every single taste bud you have for a fun animated series. Today's guest is South, an animator and mythology nerd developing the upcoming deliciously tantalizing indie animated series, The Cupid's MENU. I became aware of this concept in the first place because South actually recently joined a server in Discord that I'm a part of, and just seeing the concept alone, I was already extremely intrigued, so I knew I had to bring South on to talk about just what exactly Cupid's MENU is all about. I mean, trust me, as you can tell from the conversation you're about to hear, it is going to be absolutely worth every single bite of information. If you enjoy our guest, please make sure you support her with the links down in the description below. If you enjoy the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. Leave 5 stars wherever you can. You know, I see that stuff. You know, it genuinely warms my heart. If you want to go a little further with that support, may I recommend you check out the merch shop on fourthwall.com. In fact, we have just dropped our brand new Pride merch with some sensational, incredible designs. Some fun colorways represents different aspects of the LGBTQ plus community that I know you will look sensational in today. Each design, the wonderful artist Roshan Galaxy made sure to take and really give a good fun way for each aspect of Pride to really pop on every single logo. Plus, with every single purchase of this merch, half the proceeds go back to Roshan, and the other half goes to either Trans Lifeline or Lambda Literary. So if you want to help out a pair of incredible charities while also looking stylish in the process, may I recommend you check out that link in the description below, fourthwall.com, and get some of that incredible merch today. But now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast.
I've seen a lot. You do great work.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. How'd you learn about the podcast in the first place?
So I actually was invited to the animation hub.
Right.
And on the Discord, I saw in the promotions one of your videos. I'm like, what is this? So I clicked on it, and I was like, this is really neat. I enjoy this, so I just reached out.
Well, honestly, thank you for reaching out more than anything else, because, I mean, like, I'm always a person that appreciates when a person reaches out, as long as they're not, like, desperately being like, can I be on the podcast, can I be on the podcast, can I be on the podcast? No, it's like, as long as you reach out and be like, hey, you're doing wonderful stuff, you know, I also got this thing if you're interested in it. I always appreciate that, so thank you for taking the time to actually reach out, because I noticed your stuff whenever they were inviting you into the podcast, like, because, you know, we have the server suggestions or like the members suggestion area or whatnot, and I saw your at least like the poster and stuff for the Cupid's MENU, and I thought it looked very interesting, like right off the bat. And so whenever you reached out, I'm like, oh, we're definitely talking about this. I am ready for this.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, South, before we really do get going, I must ask the icebreaker question of the podcast, if I may. Let's say you get to go to a deserted island on your own accord. It's just you alone with your thoughts. You get to kick back, relax, breathe, get to really enjoy yourself for a little bit. Maybe not abandoned or deserted or whatnot, like a little personal B&B paradise away from society for a little bit, with all the amenities and everything. To make sure you don't go completely insane on this island, you could bring one piece of media or one piece of art with you to help with whatever kind of headspace you want on this island. If given this opportunity, what will that one piece be?
Only one.
Only
right?
one. Only one. I mean, I'm a little loose with my rules, so I mean, depending on what the one thing is, you know.
That's really hard. There's a lot. I think I'm going to have to go with Hannibal, specifically the 2013 one.
Are you talking? You're talking about the live action series, right?
Yes.
Oh, you would have made a new friend today, because when that thing was premiering, when it was being shown to the world or whatnot, that was everything for me. That show was special for me.
Why was it special?
Oh my god, because I was just so invested in it, especially with like the visual. I mean, I'm sure you can probably attest to this or whatnot, but like especially with like the visuals and like the character interactions or whatnot, and like how they play off the character dynamics for each other. I mean, I should be asking you this kind of stuff, but like, why is Hannibal the one that you want to bring with you on this little paradise for a second?
Personally, for me, as a kid, my parents, they never really allowed me to watch that sort of stuff. Usually they just brought me like cartoons. So I think I saw it on like some like radio channel the first time that I watched it.
Interesting.
And it was kind of like a new spin for me. And at the time, I have never like watched any mystery shows before, so that was like the first introduction to me. Immediately when I saw the introduction, I was like hooked because to me it was just crazy to think about like an investigator and a murderer working to find his own killing.
Yeah, like to think of like how creative it was to have like those characters like interacting with each other and also like basically going against each other without one of them at least realizing that they were going against each other. Like it's such a fun spin. Plus, like again with all the like mental aspects of it and like the visuals of like the you know the different creatures that were manifested and all that kind of stuff. Like that was. It was beautiful, and I wish that there was like at least one more season because I felt like they could have like brought that, they could have dragged out a little bit more. I'm sure, I think it was like canceled, so they had to like end it the way that they did. But like they could have dragged that for at least another season or so. Like
Yeah.
But regardless, the show Hannibal, that is your answer. You're locking that in.
I'm locking that in. I think I would choose this just because, like what you said, it's really beautiful, and I personally I really love cooking and like baking, so the thought of like being able to like cook a human was so surreal for me. But at the same time, I was really attracted to the idea just because I always thought that, you know, the human body is really beautiful, all shapes, all sizes.
Absolutely.
And the fact that they could capture it in such an artistic yet grotesque way really sparked something inside little me.
Did you ever, a little sidetrack here, did you ever see the video that someone did of like Hannibal, but actually Hannibal's a horrible cook? So it's just like you see like full on fingers or like, you know, like noses or like faces in the dishes or whatnot, and the people are just eating it like it's nothing.
I have not, but you should send that to me later.
After we get done with this interview, I will definitely send that to you because it's so funny, especially when you think, obviously, you know, especially with how they illustrated how they cooked humans on the show or whatnot. Like, to imagine that it's just like, he's just like sloppily putting this stuff in like a stew and there's like an eyeball looking right back at the person or whatnot. Like, it's so hilarious. But regardless, I cannot think of a better way to start the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Nathan Ragland. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. You look fantastic in the merch we have at the merch shop, fourthwall.com. Link to that is in the description below. And follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok at Postmod Art Pod for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. She is an animator and mythology nerd, developing the upcoming deliciously tantalizing indie animated series, The Cupid's Menu. Welcome to the podcast, South!
Hello.
I hope that was a very worthy, very, you know, wonderful way to introduce you more than anything else.
Yes, I always big sucker for theatrical entrances.
Well, there you go. I tried to give my guests the most theatrical that I can for a podcast platform. How are you doing today, South?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I am doing fantastic now that I'm getting the opportunity to sit down and chat with you. Like I kind of mentioned in the intro, ever since you reached out to me and really I got a chance to really sink my teeth into this wonderful indie animated concept you have of the Cupid's Menu, like I have been excited and so like my how should I word this? Like, my mouth is watering to talk about how good this upcoming indie animated show could possibly be, because like just from the little tastes and little appetizers you've been giving of people or whatnot, there's a lot that they should expect when it comes to the Cupid's menu. But before we talk about the stuff you're doing nowadays, I want to go back just a little bit and learn more or less the origin story of South. What got you interested in art and animation and such in the first place?
It's actually a pretty funny story. Okay. So, I actually had zero interest in becoming an artist or animator or whatever as a kid. Never interested me. But my sister, one day, she drew this picture of a tiger. I remember specifically. And for some reason, this tiger was so good that I thought, damn, I want to draw like that too.
Okay.
So, ever since then, from like elementary school to middle school, I just drew pictures, but I never created anything original. That was the thing. Everything was just kind of a photocopy, so very much black and white drawings of like animals, buildings, people. And soon enough, I got bored of drawing again.
I mean, we all got to start somewhere, and like, you know, at least, you know, when you're a kid, like, tracing's a good way to at least pick up on those skills. But then you got bored. That's the part that like I'm intrigued now. But like, what was it about? Just like the arts in general, that you're just like, I'm done with this. Like, at least for at that time.
It's because I don't think I've ever been really interested in drawing. Just like from paper, pen, it was kind of just like, I made something. There we go. Okay. But after like 2-3 years, when I got into high school, I was going back into drawing because there was a creative work course that I took. Okay. And one of the I remember one of the projects being that you had to create your own comic. Ooh. And at that time, I was just like, well, I don't really consider myself as an artist, but I do really like writing. And ever since I think I was 12 years old, I had the Cupid's menu only written down. Okay. And like never as actual characters. So I decided to hand that in as my project, and my teacher, she really liked it, and she told me, you know what, I think you should like continue drawing, because it's just like, maybe you don't like it as just itself, but if you can express yourself this way, then I think it's worth diving more into. And then slowly over time, when I discovered, I can learn how to animate myself from home on like YouTube and stuff. That's when I started liking drawing more, because I could see my stories coming to life. So the aspect of arts for me isn't really the drawing part, but more the fact that I get to tell a story.
Right, absolutely. Like that, honestly, that makes sense. Like, you know, because drawing is just one thing. Like, you see the two-dimensional plane, or you see like the simple drawing, and like, yeah, that's nice and all. But to actually be able to use that to further like actually tell a story and invest more like creativity into it or whatnot, like that speaks volumes more than anything else. Was it that project that you were talking about, the one where you actually got to first introduced the Cupid's menu or whatnot? Was that the moment for you? It kind of went from just like, you know, a love or a general appreciation, or at least at that point rediscovering that love, to a passion and wanting to make it your career? Or was it like the animation aspect? Like, when did that like switch? When did it switch in your head of like, I actually want to be an artist or be in the art field?
I guess it goes back to my sister, honestly. She's a great person, but she told me during high school, after I told her my idea, she's like, this is really good. I feel like you should do this. Like, you should pursue and whatever you want to do, even if it doesn't amount to anything, at least like you'll be able to feel fulfilled in some way, I guess. And I also encouraged her because she really enjoys singing. So I'm like, okay, here's the deal. If you have your career as singing, I'll do my career as an artist. And that way we both kind of chased our own dreams. Okay. So, yeah.
I was gonna say, if I remember correctly, then, because as I was doing my research and looking through your stuff, your sister, I assume they go by the username Jupiter or Juniper.
Yes. Jupiter, like the planet.
Jupiter, like the planet. Yeah. Yes, because I was looking through your stuff or whatnot, and I saw like a couple of things that you had reposted from Jupiter, including a duet that you two did of Loser Baby.
Yes, that was ooh.
Hey, you know what? It's good to see that it's good to see that the both of you are really encouraging each other to like go forth and like pursue the art path that you both can honestly do really good wonders in. I mean, if nothing else, I gotta commend Jupiter because like her singing is absolutely lovely. Like I enjoyed it whenever I get a chance to listen to it. And honestly, yeah, I know you said oof, but I honestly loved your guys' duet of Loser Baby. I thought it was a fun song to do more than anything else.
Thank you. I'll pass it on to her.
Well, thank you so much. I'm also curious as well because obviously like the art was something that had its own like little path, its own little like ups and downs or whatnot. So I'm wondering, when along that path did mythology become a part of something that you loved and something you want to incorporate in your stuff?
Okay. I think I've just always loved mythology, storytelling.
Okay.
Art has only become a part of me recently. Storytelling has always been a part of me. I think mainly because I consider myself like a theater kid. So lots of musical stuffed inside my noggin. Plus, my mother, she introduced me to Song Wukong. Are you familiar with it?
I have heard of Wukong. I've heard of little bits of Wukong here and there, but I'm not fully familiar with the story. I know there was a previous guest that I found on the podcast, shout out to Kaiju Fluffs, that was a major fan of the Sun Wukong story and such.
I'll just debrief it really quickly. So, Monkey King or Song Wukong is basically about a mischievous monkey who wants to become this immortal god, I guess. And he basically becomes king of the monkeys after his intense, like, coming out of the rock, magically having laser beam eyes, because guess what? He's the main character, I guess.
Yeah, because why not?
And he goes on this journey with a monk and 2 other demons, I believe, and a horse prince thing. Very much confusing, as mythology always is.
I was going to say, it's mythology. You got to suspend your belief a little bit, you know?
But it's basically playing on the main 2 characters, which is Tripitaka and the monk, and the Monkey King. And basically, Tripitaka is teaching Sun Wukong how to become a better person. And as a kid, I was considered a bit of a troublemaker, so I remember my mom read it to me to be like, this should inspire you.
I was also going to say, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think this is what Kaiju said to me or whatnot. Wasn't Sun Wukong more or less like the foundation or the inspiration for Dragon Ball?
Yes, it was.
That's why I wanted to make sure, because I think I remember her telling me that or whatnot, and I didn't fully realize it. But again, I've heard that story before. It's always fun to hear that, like, something like that especially has inspired you to delve further into mythology of all different aspects. I can only imagine, like, and especially, like you said, the storytelling aspect, the way that, ancient historians or like the storytellers back then could elaborate on such an eloquent and far-reaching story. Like, I can only imagine for you getting the chance to really absorb those stories and find a way to try to like incorporate some of that into your own storytelling for the stories you want to bring to life.
You can go ahead.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. No, I had something in the... No, I was going to say, like, especially, seeing that mythology is having, like, a major aspect and a major impact with what you do nowadays or whatnot. I also just got to ask, another side tangent right here. As a mythology nerd, I imagine seeing the success of... And as a theater kid or whatnot, seeing people going crazy over this, like, Epic the Musical that's being developed or whatnot, that's going to be fun to see.
Yes, I'm actually super hyped for that one. It looks amazing. I've listened to their songs so many times.
I was gonna say I got a couple friends that are like super into it. Shout out to Ash's art more than anything else. Like she's been huge onto it, and I've listened to some of the songs. I've listened to some of the things. I'm a person on TikTok, so obviously like some of those memes come through anyway as well. So like I'm excited to see like the full finished product, like what it could potentially become more than anything else, because like it looks really interesting, and I cannot wait to see like what they could potentially do with that aspect of mythology and bringing it to a modern audience, similar to what you're trying to do in a way, like with how you're incorporating some of the mythology into your own storytelling. What aspects of mythology have you more or less like taken for yourself and like tried to reiterate and re-illustrate for a modern context?
So for me, Greek mythology has always been my most knowledgeable aspect in mythology, and I've taken a lot of inspiration from philosophies in Greek mythology specifically,
Okay.
just because I feel like even though it's a little outdated, it still is considered timeless to me because stories get rebranded and told every single day.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's important for me to, I don't know, I guess I wanted to take aspects of mythology and rebrand it into something modern that people would both understand and enjoy, just because I believe the moral lessons in mythology are super important. So some of the aspects that I've taken is my main character. His name is called Agape. And what agape means is basically it's a Greek philosophy term for sort of all-consuming like love. This sort of love that reaches beyond God and anybody else.
Right.
So sort of imagine like a sort of sacrificial love, an innocent sacrificial love that goes beyond words and meaning.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, that honestly makes sense. And I cannot wait to delve more into agape and such when we get onto the Cupid's menu, which we will soon enough. I promise you that. But there was some other like storytelling aspects, or at least some other stories that at least I want to talk about one in particular that while I was doing my research, I was really invested in or whatnot. What is this concept, this little web comic that you were able to put out there a little bit called The Wrong Bride?
Oh my god, that's a bit traumatizing.
Oh my god, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to traumatize you.
It's okay. Basically, there was one of my first webtoons, I believe, when I was just finicking around with trying to upload comics just because I wanted to experiment with all sorts of fields. And Wrong Bride, it also has a lot of mythology in it, mainly just between heaven and hell mythologies.
Okay.
But what I wanted to do with The Wrong Bride was sort of a test run on how am I going to upload the Cupid's menu, I guess.
Okay.
And yeah, I created these two characters. I completely forget their names now, but one of them is this motorcycle devil riding girl, and the other one is this angel from hell. And basically where the story was going to go was talk about the lines between obsessive love and healthy love.
Right.
So, because I grew up in sort of a Christian household, it was very much like devote yourself to God, devote yourself to like the people around you, and totally fine if you're into that.
Right.
But as a kid, I always thought like, well, like how far does it go? So what is okay? Like obviously, if someone you love told you like, oh, you have to murder someone, then I'd be like, well, I don't think I do that.
It's like let's cool the jets just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because I want to give my life to someone doesn't mean I need to take someone else's life for it.
Exactly, and I think. First of all, Bible is a great book. Everyone should read it.
Yep.
But a lot of the times it's misinterpreted.
Yes.
And people should be aware of, like... I think everyone should read the Bible, even if they're not religious or if they don't believe in it, just because it is great storytelling.
Yes. It especially for the fact that something like that, for however long, many ages ago it was written, the fact that people could still take inspiration and still like take the stories from it and like kind of take the message in their own heart, whether it's good or bad, seeing how some people translate it or whatnot. That's got to be a testament to the storytelling that it has in the first place more than anything else.
But yeah, the Wrong Bride was it was just a test run, but I was surprised by the attention it got, so I abandoned it. I'm so sorry. There's actually continue.
No, you say your piece first.
There's this one person who comments on like every single post that I have, and he's just like, when's like the next what is the next comic you're gonna post? I'm like, oh god. I don't know, I'm so sorry.
That has to break your heart a little bit, knowing that there's someone out there just waiting for the opportunity to just be like, come on, more Wrong Bride, more Wrong Bride, more Wrong Bride.
but the thing is, it's like, to me that story is so not good.
I mean, I thought it was a fun story, and I could see the potential of where it could potentially lead to, both on a cheery angle, but on a like an angst level, especially when you were talking about like the difference between like healthy love and obsessive love or whatnot. Seeing kind of the hints of that, like, you know, with the few pages that were out there, whatnot. Like, I if you had ever decided to go back to that, it would be cool. But also, I completely understand why you're like, I got this right here. I want to focus on this. Let's get this out there to the world first. That being said, like, if you do get a chance to really explore your other stories and whatnot, would there ever be even a potential chance to potentially go back to the Wrong Bride and maybe, like, you know, maybe start over with it, maybe reincorporate, or like try to write the story a little different, maybe illustrate a little different? Like, would there be a chance of it?
I do not believe so, just because I have like a stockpiled of stories that I think are stupendously so much better.
You know what? Valid. That is fair. That is understandable. I completely understand where you're coming from. Not that, obviously, again, like I said, I thought The Wrong Bride was fun, at least to really delve into, but honestly, seeing what you could potentially be bringing forth with one of your other projects that we're definitely going to be talking about in a second, I promise we will. I like the potential for what the storytelling you can do from there is going to be really incredible. You know what? Screw it. I teased it enough. I might as well just go ahead and go head first into the big project that you're building up to. The one that's got a lot of love and from what you've already told me, a lot of years of storytelling and investment going into it. I want to talk about the upcoming indie animated project, The Cupid's Menu. For people that have no idea what in the world we're even talking about in the first place, I know you kind of tease a little bit about what it's about, already, but how would you describe The Cupid's Menu?
Okay, so, alright. If I had to sum it up as quickly as I can in a niche paragraph, Cupid's Menu is about an aromantic asexual Cupid by the name of Agape, and he lives on this little island called Moku Ami. On this island, Cupids are seen as idols of some sort, and they're basically worshipped and idolized. But Agape has been taking 3-year-long break from his job due to secret I can't tell you yet.
Oh,
but
you tease.
I do tease. But on this island, a lot of things seem to be a little bit wrong, and Agape tries to go into this island to uncover what the other Cupids are hiding. And Eros is the main antagonist, and he owns this restaurant chain where basically he attracts customers who are looking for love. And he gives you this menu where you can order whatever kind of person you want. Sort of just like how people nowadays put a lot of things in categories. I kind of wanted to parallel the idea of capitalism, how it affects romance, and social media, how it also affects romance. But yeah, that's it.
I mean, like, that little description alone already has me very intrigued. One of the aspects that I definitely picked up on as I was, like, doing more research and this kind of stuff is this emphasis of, like, modern romance and capitalism and social media and stuff like that. What is it about those aspects, that little emphasis that like you wanted to? What was it about that aspect of it, like the modern romance and capitalism, that you wanted to emphasize on that and make that like a major theme for this story?
Um, what do I want to emphasize?
Yeah, the capitalism aspect. Like, why was that something that you wanted to emphasize when it comes to the story?
Oh, I see. Okay, I guess this story has a lot to do with how I felt as a teenager.
Okay.
And at first, it might scare a lot of people away because they think, oh gosh, teenager romance, ugh, disgusting. But actually, it's a lot more than that because I feel like your earliest years dealing with romance is the most important because of how society encapsulates it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to include capitalism in it specifically because of how, first of all, social media and capitalism are intertwined.
Right.
And a lot of posts always encourage, like, oh, you should do X for your partner. You should, I don't know, take your partner out on this fancy vacation.
Right.
And it's kind of the idea of this transactional love that transpires people to think, oh, well, if I receive this amount, then in my mind, I'm reassured that this person loves me because I got this.
Right.
So that's how most people think, emphasis on the most.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of wanted to include that because I went to a more of a upper middle class high school, and a lot of the times I saw that as an example, and it kind of messed with my brain a bit with a kid because I was always thinking like, oh, something doesn't feel quite right. So that's why I wanted to include it, because I feel, especially like nowadays, it's become such a big yet undiscussed topic.
Right. I mean, especially with like what you were emphasizing there, with like people kind of more or less putting a price tag on romance and like modern social media posts or whatnot. Even then, I feel like that concept's been around for at least since like I want to say the 50s or whatnot. I mean, we all know about the classic billboards or the classic advertisements be like, nothing says I love you like a diamond ring or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And like the fact that social media today has just more or less like amplified that like to the nth degree, because everyone is on social media, and so advertisers are all over social media in one form or fashion, just trying to emphasize like, you know, again, nothing says I love you like a hearty 20-ounce steak from Applebee's or something like that, you know, not sponsored by Applebee's, by the way. You know, something along the lines of that. So it's really interesting that that's something you want to emphasize and really expand upon. Like it leads me to ask, like, what is the inspiration for this story as a whole? Like I know you kind of teased it a little bit by talking about like the original story back in, you know, when you were 12 or whatnot, but like what was the ultimate inspiration for the Cupid's Menu?
The ultimate inspiration, I guess it has to be an abundance of things.
Okay.
So, first of all, Hannibal.
Right, yes.
I will explain each reason. So,
Let's go.
Hannibal, because it was the first time that I ever got to see something so complex in how people express love, even if it's in a grotesque and dark manner. And that's sort of one of the aspects for the Cupid's Menu for how to display beauty, elegance, and also something dark and dangerous, and why people are attracted to that. Second was Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, starring Marilyn Monroe. Are you aware of it?
The name of it sounds familiar. I'm pretty sure I've seen like a screen grab of it before, but I don't think I've ever watched it.
Okay, that's fine. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes just explores a lot of like capitalism and romance, and it also kind of glamorizes a lot of the dark undertones that's in it, and I wanted to include that in Cupid's Menu because I really like, as I mentioned before, theatrics.
Yep.
So I kind of wanted to make I wanted to make it so that you felt like you really were falling in love with the show, I believe. So I wanted to put something really sparkly and shiny in front of the audience to grab their attention, but also underneath it, there'll be a lot of socialist messages and whatnot. And
Right.
for the last one, this is gonna sound a little silly, but Lilo and Stitch.
Okay. Okay. No, I can
Lilo and Stitch, yeah.
just saying that I can see kind of more or less a connection in one form or another. But I'd like to hear your elaboration because I know like Lilo and Stitch. Obviously, the major emphasis is like family and like the love with like a family or whatnot. So I imagine that might be an aspect that you sprinkle into it. Or am I wrong in assuming that?
No, you're completely correct. So
Okay.
Lilo and Stitch, because it showed a lot of forms of love but hate at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
about how far a person can take something, as well as the actual setting of the show, which is Hawaii.
Okay.
And personally, I've always been attracted to tropical settings, and for the Cupid's Menu, I specifically wanted it to be an island of some sort
Mm-hmm.
because I believe that people associate islands with like vacation, romance, like family. It's basically a hot spot for everyone and whoever wants to make connections with, new or old. So I thought that putting it in an island would also help glamorize the idea more. But that those three are the main inspirations for the Cupid's Menu.
Okay.
And I got there because of my personal relationship, my first relationship in high school, and how I felt during it.
I'm gonna assume because you said first and not only relationship that it probably didn't end as ideally as you imagined. Um,
It actually ended pretty well, I think.
okay. Sorry.
It was just,
How rude of me
yeah.
to assume. My bad.
It's okay, it's okay. Um, my first relationship was with a girl,
Okay.
and yeah, she was amazing. Like, she was everything you could have asked for. She was sweet, she was nice and attentive. But little me just kind of felt always out of place somewhat. And as engaged in a relationship with her, a lot of the times mentally I was thinking, am I doing things right? Like, is this how it's supposed to go? And I did everything in my head where I think there was an invisible guidebook in my head on how to date, like take her to the movies, have a first kiss,
Okay.
like I don't know, go under a starry night under the stars. But eventually she realized something was wrong as well. She kind of turned to me and she went, South, do you think you could be aromantic or asexual? And I'm like, what is that? I had no idea. But when I researched into it, I resonated a lot with a lot of the points. But in the end, I do believe I still loved her, just
Okay.
not in the traditional sense. So I know there's a lot of labels in the LGBTQ community,
Right.
but personally, I feel like each time I go into a relationship with someone, it's always different on how I love them, just not in the traditional sense.
Right. Right. I mean, I imagine you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've been in a bunch of different relationships myself, and each one like you love a person for a different reason, or is there something different that you connect with them on in one form or fashion, and it may not be just purely romantic or whatnot, but the kind of realizing the whole entire aromantic asexual aspect from that first relationship or whatnot, was that something that I imagine that's something that kind of caught your attention enough that you want to explore more of that concept, thus having agape be aromantic asexual or whatnot? Like, what is it about that aspect that what is it about the aromantic asexual aspect was something that intrigued you enough that you want it to be a major aspect of the story that you're trying to tell with the Cupid's Menu?
I always thought that oxymorons were pretty funny, so I wanted an ironic combination of an angel who, I mean, sorry, a Cupid who is unable to love someone
Right.
because, in fairy tales, it's always that, oh, if Cupid shoots you with your arrow, you're gonna fall in love. But no one thinks that the Cupid might try to use the arrow on himself. So I personally really like the idea of that, and I found that, even though I don't really have a label on my sexuality, a lot of people might relate to what I'm feeling, even if it's a small portion, because I believe that every time anyone loves someone, it's not going to be the same. There's no invisible guidebook on how to love someone. There's no way to know that, oh, how do I love someone? It's just you knowing yourself the best.
Exactly. Exactly. Trust me, if there was a guidebook on how love worked, whether visible or invisible or whatnot, I'm pretty sure a lot of relationships would end a lot differently if there was that guidebook. Which is something that I'm glad that you're actually taking the opportunity with the Cupid's Menu and really emphasizing that on top of the capitalism aspect and like the modern romance, like that's what intrigued me most about what you're putting forth with this concept. I mean, don't get me wrong, the art looks absolutely stunning for this show on top of all that. Like, the art is just like, I guess if we're using, like, again, cooking terms, this is literally the cherry on top, like having the art with such a good layered cake of just so many like delicious aspects when it comes to this, the you know, agape and like the different characters and different aspects, the capitalism aspect. Like, do you ever stand back at the more you work on this concept and just think, wow, I'm actually putting something really impressive together? Like, does it surprise you how much you've been able to develop this concept?
I would say it definitely surprises me. Still surprises me, but as I work on it, I don't really think like, oh wow, this is great. I always see a little bit of me see something wrong, and I'm like, I could go back and just fix that. But I remind myself, like, I can't.
Right.
Because otherwise I'll be redoing it forever and ever. So I have a little problem with, like, perfectionism, so I gotta not take it down a little bit of a notch, realize that mistakes can be passed. The most important thing is making this to what I believe the best quality it can be, closest to professional as I can get, even though I'm just a complete novice at this.
Right.
But that's my mindset.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, we all got to start somewhere, and so to give that good, you know, first professional step in the right direction really really can help showcase to other people like how cool of a concept this is. I mean, again, with what we've already emphasized. Plus, I hadn't even talked about the food aspect when it comes to the Cupid's Menu. I know you kind of hinted at it a little earlier by saying that food was a major thing for you, but why was food a major aspect for the Cupid's Menu?
Food is actually a major aspect of the Cupid's Menu because of how I believe it looks like in my eyes.
Okay.
As I mentioned before, I love cooking, and a lot of the times, when people cook food, it's sort of a meticulous process.
Right.
And you can compare it to love. A lot of media has already done that, like songs, music, whatever, TV shows. And I kind of wanted to take my spin on it because I don't think anyone has really dove into the fact that food can be used as a substitute for, like, I don't know if I can say this, like sex?
No, trust me, you can say it. If I had an issue with that, I would have told you beforehand. Yeah, it could be a substitute for sex.
Yeah, but I wanted to incorporate it like that just because in my relationships I've always thought that sex was like food. So basically you gotta have the preparation stage, and then you've got to have the main, like the entree or whatever, then the main course and dessert, and then you clean everything all up. So mentally in my brain, that's what it looks like. And also how people have an insatiable appetite,
right,
not just towards sex but towards romance as well, and how people constantly like crave it and they need something in their stomach.
Right, absolutely. Honestly, like, the more you're talking about like how much thought you've put into this project or whatnot, and like all the different aspects, like, you know, again, the food being a way to kind of emphasize sex or whatnot, or like, you know, how, you know, the way that they project love is kind of a way that like capitalism and social media is like projecting it or whatnot. Like, I am just genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, really impressed the more I hear about this project. Like, again, like, leading into this, I wasn't sure what I was expecting because there's only been a little bit that you've teased when it comes to this project. But, like, the more you talk about this stuff, the hungrier I get to finally get a full taste of this. Because, like, I'm really, like intrigued and impressed with what you have to present. I mean, I can only imagine how exciting, but also how anxiety inducing it must be for you to continue to work on this thing and then finally project it out into the world. Like, I imagine you're just ready to get this thing out there, but I imagine there's also a part of you that's like, are they gonna like it? Is it gonna be good? Are they gonna get everything that I'm trying to put out there? Like, you know.
Yeah. I think I'm really highly critical, so
Okay.
I agree with a lot of the points you're saying because every time I work on my script, I'm just like free writing, and I gotta remind myself, no, I can't touch this part. This is already good. What if I mess it up? But yeah, just the more I've been working on it, the more that I think I've been realizing that I'm getting better at calming down and realizing the most important things by organizing everything, like notebooks and stuff. But another thing about the food I forgot to mention,
Ooh.
I also added the food as a metaphor for romance because it's romance and sex. But I added it as a metaphor because of how, like, oh, brain fart, I lost it.
You got no. Trust me. I the same thing always happens to me,
Yeah.
and I just love to say, words are wonderful, aren't they?
Words are wonderful, aren't they? But oh my god.
Let's try again. As well as again, so you have food as a metaphor, not just for sex, but for romance.
Yes, also for romance. Oh, I remember now.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes. Also for romance because of everyone on the island who is born there is actually designed to look like a specific type of food.
Oh.
So like agape looks like a strawberry, and they're supposed to look like food or Valentine Day themed stuff. So like Eros is a butterfly, and Toma is a lemon. All the characters are laid out that way because I kind of wanted to have an undertone of cannibalism in it. Not in the way you're thinking. Not literal cannibalism.
It's the Hannibal of it all, right?
Yes, that's the Hannibal inspired part. Because I believe it was really beautiful to see, like, how much Hannibal could love someone like that, to just, like, be able to lay them out and just, like, decorate it so beautifully. Mm-hmm. I kind of thought it was the same thing as making a dress for someone, I guess, in sort of a more morbid fashion.
A very morbid fashion, yeah.
But I wanted to include that in the Cupid's menu because a lot of the time I think that's how most people feel about romance, where it's so consuming that you want to like merge yourself into the other person, or you want to like not eat them, but you want to become the same as them because there's this overwhelming feeling that a lot of people feel. This is just based on my data on what I've heard from friends and family plus the internet, so
absolutely. I'm just thinking, like, whenever you said that, like, you know, the eat them up, but not the way you're thinking of. I couldn't help but think of, like, you know, the classic grandmother, like, oh, you're just so cute, I could just eat you up, like that kind of, like,
yes,
eat you
that kind.
I mean, again, another fun little cool aspect that I didn't even think about until you mentioned, like, for example, agape looks like a strawberry, and I'm thinking back to the design. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I should have picked up on that just a little sooner. I feel
yeah, like, but another part, sorry to interrupt.
No, please do.
Another part, so that's the one of the sides. The other side on this double-edged sword is that you can also incorporate cannibalism in a way that you can tear into a person and kind of destroy them and not make it so beautiful. So like make a mess of things. That's the darker part of like relationships, friends, family, all the connections you had. So I feel like I wanted to juggle both, and I felt like creating the food theme, especially in romance, was such a good way to describe it, just because you could have the good food, and then you could have the bad food.
Right. I mean, it's also kind of like the metaphor that you see with like certain like commercials, or like the trope more or less of like you have this person that makes this absolutely elegant dish for like their date or whatnot, but then you look at the kitchen and you see like the miles of or the piles of dishes and like the mess all around the kitchen after they get done making this like absolutely gorgeous meal or whatnot for the other person. Like, it's a lot of work for the person to put into themselves and to put into that meal in order to impress this person that they love. But again, you look behind them in the kitchen, and there's just a giant mess of like how much they've had to give up, or how much they've had to literally mess up in order to make something look so gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a really, I can just have you sit here and just spend like another 5 hours just talking about all the cool little metaphors and all the different aspects of it, because I like, again, the more you talk about this, the more excited I am for it. And hopefully the other people that are watching this, they're more excited for it as well, because like, this is like, again, we've only gotten, again, to use this metaphor, we've only gotten tastes of what we could potentially get with the Cupid's menu. But like, what little bit you've given us, you've made us hungry for the next course whenever you decide to present it to us more than anything else.
Thank you.
Plus, you gotta admit, you gotta at least give me a little bit of credit for how much like food puns I've been able to incorporate in this bad boy.
I'm actually really impressed. Every time you make one, in the back of my head, I'm like, "Whoa, you got another one!" I didn't even see it. You keep coming at them with like left and right swings. It's amazing.
Look, all I'm just saying is I've hosted long enough to where I can try to think of like certain puns and certain like ways to like transition or whatnot, and you know, I like to give a good little palate cleanser sometimes, you know? That one was a little bit more forced. But regardless, no, like, it's really impressive. And we hadn't even talked about, like, the potential aspect when it comes to the mythology aspect. Because I imagine, especially with, like, some of the names of the characters and some of the different aspects when it comes to love, like, that has to go back to some of the mythology that you used to love and, like, take in. Like, how much mythology did you incorporate into the Cupid's menu as well?
I can't tell you the exact percentage, but definitely a lot.
Oh, okay.
It is supposed to be more of a modern theme, just because I wanted to make the Cupid's menu relatable to people for all ages.
Right.
So I'm trying to put it in a middle ground where it's just like, you don't have to know so much mythology, but if you have a little bit more knowledge on it, you'll be able to understand it on a deeper level than most will.
Right.
But if you're a child and you're watching it, you'll just be like, "Oh, I understand it, but I don't know like level 2 of whatever they're trying to talk about." So it's sort of supposed to be like that. So everyone gets to have their own perspective as they grow up, I guess. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, so it's, to put it bluntly, there's different layers to this that different audiences are going to be able to look at, and they'll appreciate, like, to a certain level or whatnot. Like, there's some people that will love it at face value more or less, and they'll see it and they'll understand, like, at least the basic love aspect. But then, like, for those that are older and they've had more experience or whatnot, they'll see the different layers of it, the different aspects of it, like the capitalism or the different romantic, different romantic styles or whatnot, or like the more underlying themes and such. There's layers to this.
Yes, there is.
It does lead me to wonder, obviously, like, I imagine we're still a good bit away from us actually getting the chance to see, like, the first episode of it. You can correct me if I'm wrong, or first little bit of it, but what should people expect from the Cupid's menu when you finally get a chance to serve it to the masses?
Oh, that is a very broad question. Do you mind thinning it down?
Thin it down. Okay. What should, like, whenever we get that opportunity to see at least like the first episode of the Cupid's menu, what should people expect? Like, is it gonna be like, how much of a fun or how much of a thought-provoking experience should we expect?
Okay, so actually, the first episode, or pilot, I guess, is going to be a bit of a strain mentally for personally my own head, because it's not everything that I want to get out there.
Right.
Just because it's going to be the first episode, I don't want to overwhelm the audience. What I want to do is, first of all, get the main message out of there and introduce everyone to characters world building, the main message, and what they can expect from the Cupid's menu.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what they can expect is what the synopsis is. So just aromantic, asexual Cupid trying to understand how his society works,
Mm-hmm.
the general framework of everything, because I believe that's the best sort of foundation for a pilot episode, especially.
Absolutely. So basically just like have the main course out there for a lot of people and like the main messages or whatnot, but there's got to be a few ingredients that as much as you would love to, sprinkle it on top or whatnot, you'll get that with subsequent episodes or whatnot. And it'll still be a good, tasty, delicious experience at the end of the day.
Yes. I am hoping that after I release the pilot, maybe a company could like help me, because total novice at this, yes, again, but animation really expensive.
Yes, it is.
So really expensive in terms of time and money, so I don't know if I'll be able to continue more from episode 1. That's why I'm like giving it my all to try and reach it out to the widest audience I can.
Right.
But first episode is just going to be the synopsis of the plot, and then what I'm going to add in there that's not the synopsis actually, just remembered, is like more mystery, I guess, because you don't really know why Agape is on this like retirement, but there's going to be little hints, and if people can figure it out, I'm going to applaud them.
Yeah.
because I feel like it's a little difficult of how I placed it, but I made it difficult on purpose. But yeah, I also wrote a couple of songs. I'm still writing songs for it.
Right.
But I finished one of the songs with lovely voice actor that I hired. His name's Aaron Mann. He is amazing to work with. And I think everyone will enjoy that. I can't play a snippet now. I will play it when I get my Kickstarter out.
Okay, that's something to definitely keep in mind more than anything else. A nice little, if I may, a nice little sweet treat for those that may be wanting to help produce this thing in one form or fashion. Whether it be like the company that you're emphasizing or maybe just the community that you build up for this kind of thing. Because you gotta at least admit, like, for what little bit is out there, it's gotta be impressive to see the people that have already hopped on board and want to see more of this thing already.
Oh yeah, of course. My supporters in my Discord, they're all super, super nice. I was actually really shocked when I first created it, because in my head, I think in my head I just thought, wow, everyone's gonna see this and think, what is this girl on? This is like total garbage. This is terrible. But no, they've all been really kind, and it's been motivating me a lot more to work harder actually. So
Good.
I'm happy that they're supporting.
Look, believe it or not, some of us do have a refined palate for some good animation out there, okay? Look, I gotta keep them coming, all right? I'm not stopping with this thing. Anyways, no, but genuinely, like, it's gotta be real. It's really impressive to see how far you've been able to come along, and hopefully, I don't know when you have it planned, but whenever that Kickstarter does drop, you better believe I'm gonna be one of those people that's gonna be amplifying it to the masses and want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to see it, because especially with the conversation we've been able to have today and what I've been able to see beforehand or whatnot, I'm excited to get as much of this as possible. Like, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, like, the different dynamics that you've emphasized, the different correlations and the thought-provoking stuff or whatnot, like, I really want to see how far you could potentially go with this. I mean, it has to be impressive for you. I can only imagine for you as well. Like, it's got to be really cool to think, like, how close you are to, like, bringing this stuff out there to people and potentially have it, but also, like, how far you are from putting out the product that you're hoping to.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, man.
Yeah, like you said, you've been debating about the story since you were, like, what, 12 years old, or at least, like, the first little, sprinkles of what you could potentially do since you were 12 years old, and here you are, Lord knows how many years later, like, finally getting this thing, like, brought to life through animation.
Yes.
It's insane. Like, even even thinking back further, thinking back to, the times where you were interested in drawing and not interested in drawing, and back and forth, up and down, left and right, thinking to your art journey as a whole, does it amaze you more or less how far or how much you've been able to develop as an artist?
Uh, I actually feel like it's always been the same sort of flip-flop situation.
Okay.
So like randomly one year I'll become so good at drawing, but then the next it's like absolute hot fire garbage. I don't know what I'm doing. It really depends, but I feel like just if I do basic practice every day, it'll just stay the same as a singular sort of line progress.
Right.
But as an artist specifically curating my skills, I think in my head I'm impatient. So when I don't see immediate progress from me, I'm like, no, you gotta work faster, man. And then years later, when I see my old artwork, I was like, wow, I drew this when I was this little. That's insane.
Yeah.
So really, I'm completely blind to my own progress, I think. What I do with my art is I compare it to like movie posters. I'm like, if I saw my art on a movie poster, would I consider this equal quality? And I feel like that's been helping a lot, especially with Cupid's Menu stuff, because I wanted to get it to TV level. So when I compared my posters together, I was shocked because I was like, this has actually been helping me. So I kept redrawing it and drawing it again until it finally looked like something that could be like in the theaters.
Yeah, no, like legit, like the most recent poster that you've put out there or whatnot. Yeah, the one that everyone sees these days or whatnot. I feel like if you had that printed big and was able to slide it into a movie theater or whatnot, people will legitimately think like, wow, this looks like a really good movie. I wonder when this one's coming out or whatnot. So I think it's that level of quality. And speaking of that level of quality, how about I potentially give you that level of quality and then some, or maybe more up and above, and give you more or less the dream scenario, if I may. Let's say I am Big Shot Mr. Moneybags. I come to you and like, look, South, we have seen what you've been tinkering with, what you've been potentially putting out there to the world, and to put it bluntly, we're hungry for more. We want to see what you could potentially do with this. You just need a little extra push, a little extra platform to get you to that point. We have access to everyone and anyone in whatever industry possible, and more money than there should be possible. We really should be possibly paying back the animators or whatnot. They're dedicating their lives to this kind of stuff. Make sure they get like health insurance and all that kind of stuff. # stand with animation. But right now we're focusing on you and you alone. If given this opportunity, what would be the Dream South project?
I can make anything I want. You're telling me.
Anything you want.
Oh boy. I've got a handful written down in the back of my head.
Ooh.
But I think if I was able to make anything I wanted, definitely TV series. Another one would be awesome.
Okay.
And I think I would want to tinker with something that is both 2D and 3D looking at the same time.
Ooh.
So I really like mixed media, so
yeah.
I would like to try to do something like that. And actually, the project that I would like to work on, I think because I love world building, it's probably going to be something really world building heavy.
Okay.
With ocean as a theme, because I'm also a huge marine biology nerd.
Okay.
So something to do with like magic, ocean, witches. I'm trying to sum things up.
Yep.
And the main theme would probably be oh boy, what would it be? I guess if it's magic and like witches, the ocean, likely something to do with logic versus emotion, I guess. I think that would be cool to represent especially in like some sort of magic ocean school, logic versus emotion, and like nature versus man. I think that would be an interesting concept.
Especially if you give like the witches like the possibility or the power to like take the ocean environment that they are in or whatnot, and tease it that hey, we could potentially flood the world if we really wanted to, if our emotions get the best of us or something like that.
Something like that. That's what I just thought of top of my head.
Hey, it's good, like, especially off the top of your head. I was gonna say, like, I know you said you had kind of like a few concepts that you'd love to toy around with. What if we just give the opportunity to do all of them and just give you the studio? Like, you have your own studio, you can bring in whoever you want, and you can produce that kind of stuff, and then some.
Oh my god, I would love to have all of them, actually.
There you go.
I think I have a couple written down. Let me see.
Ooh.
Indeed. It is on my phone.
I was gonna say, I can only imagine, especially with how much thought you've just put into Cupid's Menu alone, all the different other ideas and all the other kind of concepts, and like how much you've probably invested into those as well. I can only imagine how creative they can be.
Here's one actually that I wrote a long time ago. So this is called, what did I write? Can you find Dorian?
Can you find
Dorian? Yes. There is a girl, and she's part of a tech startup testing called empathy mapping. It's a neurological device that lets you feel another person's emotions and thoughts. So she volunteers to pair with her coworker, who's very quiet and enigmatic. I can't pronounce that word. But here's the twist. So after she puts on this empathy mapping device, she gets to literally be put into his brain and sort of see and feel what it's like to be him.
Ooh.
And the reason why that the government is putting out this empathy mapping test is because they want to revitalize the dead people. So this is based in the far future, and able to talk to like dead parents or reconnect with people who aren't alive anymore by putting this sort of AI system that learns, okay, this is how this person thinks, and then creating an artificial human if you didn't get your last chance to say goodbye. Something like that. And basically this girl, she the more that she goes into Dorian's brain, the more she kind of becomes addicted to what kind of person he is, because she finds him so interesting, because on the outside he just seems like he doesn't care about anything. He doesn't talk, nothing like that. And so she gets more obsessed about like, oh, like what can I do, like, oh my god, maybe I can fix him. So like that sort of mentality. Not in a romantic manner, though. She doesn't love him like that.
Right.
More of a way that she has a sort of savior complex, because she considers herself to be both a scientist and also like a medical practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
So she believes that instead of this empathy mapping bringing people back to life, she can use it to save people. So after that, she kind of loses her own identity, because she becomes so obsessed with thinking like him that her own mind is shattered.
Right.
And she ends up becoming like this lifeless sort of doll, and she just becomes a reflection mirror of Dorian. I'm not sure where to write it from there, but that's all I've got.
That seems like very... That seems like an episode of Black Mirror more than anything else. Like it's very like hopeful, but also like very dystopian if you really like pry into it more than anything else. Like that's really interesting. It's a very interesting concept more than anything else.
Yeah, that is actually inspired by Black Mirror.
Well, there you go.
I'm so glad you got it.
Well, because that's what Black Mirror is about more than anything else, is like, how could the technology that we could be potentially toying with, like, how could it be good, but also how could it really be bad, and how could it be really dystopian or whatnot? And having that kind of aspect of like being able to go into a person's consciousness and then trying to see how they could potentially fix them while also losing yourself in the process. Yeah, that's extremely dystopian.
Yes. I have like tens of other stories, but we're gonna sit all day if I go through that.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's a couple.
Well, like I said, we'll give you the studio. You could tell that story and all the other stories as much as you want. That's what Mr. Moneybags is gonna do for you. We got you covered there. But sadly, we do gotta get down from the dream scenario. We gotta get back to reality, and I'll ask the ever so generic question: where do you hope to see yourself in, say, 5 to 10 years from now?
Oh, 5 to 10 years. Oof. I hope to see the Cupid's Menu become like a real TV show if possible. Yes. And in 5 to 10 years, I also hope to be continuing to write stories because I do think that that's truly my calling because I never tire of doing it. Mm-hmm. And I think in the future, I also hope to spend more time with my family and my friends because right now, especially in my age bracket, there's not a lot of time juggling between like school, work, home, right. Projects. So I hope that I'll be able to time manage more and spend more time with them. But those are my main goals. It's really simplistic, but it's what I want.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes simple is all you need. Like, you don't need to have like the extravagant dream or whatnot. Like, just having that simple of like being able to continue to work on the cool stuff that you've got out there, hopefully in a bigger on a bigger platform, and just spending more time with the ones you love. Like, that's a dream. That's what I would love to do. That's my like 5 to 10 year goal more than anything else, you know? As we start to wind down the interview, I just got one last question I want to ask you, South. Obviously, you are deeply entrenched in art in one form or fashion at this point, seeing how much you've been able to invest in the stuff you're doing nowadays, especially with the Cupid's Menu. How important is art, not just for you, but for the world as a whole?
That is a tough question. I feel like art will always be relevant in some form or fashion, just because, like, you literally can't escape it, man. Yep. The buildings behind me, those ones, that's literally art, man. Yeah. Like, I believe that art is super important, even if people don't see or appreciate it. I will recommend The Devil Wears Prada because I feel like it explains art really well. Yes. It's a movie that actually detangles the fact that what you see is extremely important, even though if you don't completely do this critical, analytical thought on it, you can't escape it, man. It's just everywhere. So I feel like it's important to both your mental health and also your physical health. If it helps you de-stress, if you just look at it and you feel great, art's done its job.
I think that is wonderfully worded, if I do say so myself. South, that is all the questions that I have for you today. I've already showered you with Lord knows how much praise and what you're doing, but I want to shower you with a little bit more because it's my podcast. I do what I want. No, genuinely, like I said, ever since you first reached out and ever since I first gotten the chance to really sink my teeth more into the Cupid's Menu and whatnot, I have been just absolutely like amazed and excited to see what this could potentially be. And now that we've had today's conversation, getting the chance to hear more about it, how much you've invested into it or whatnot, like I am all in on this bad boy. Like, I want to see this thing like to its fullest. I want to see like I could tell, especially when we were talking today, how much thought and how much emphasis and how much care, how much passion you've put into this project. How much is definitely seemingly meant to you in all different aspects of it. And I know that when I get a chance to finally see this, when you're finally able to present this bad boy to the world or whatnot, like, I'm really excited to see like not just what you're able to produce, but how people are gonna like love and relate to it on all sorts of different levels or whatnot. I'm genuinely impressed, and I'm genuinely excited to see where this could potentially go. Not just with whenever you're able to get the pilot out there, but like where it could go past that, the opportunities that could come up from it, whether it be from a company coming in and being like, we love this concept and we want to see more of it, or maybe from the community just being the same way, like, we love this, we want to see more of it, here's all the funds you need, like, get more people on board with this. It's exciting to see what you have produced, not just with the Cupid's Menu, but everything past that, because I can tell just from chatting with you today that there's a lot of love and passion and thought that goes into each and every single thing that you put forth, and I am excited to see that thought, that care, that love go into that kind of stuff. the long and the short of it is, Sal, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for putting yourself out there, because I know it's not easy sometimes to really translate that stuff, in one form or fashion, but to take as much time as you have to really put that stuff out there, it will definitely shine in just about every single thing that you do, and I will be excited for every single thing that you produce. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words. You're a wonderful host.
Oh, you don't have to butter me up, all right? You've already made it to the podcast. We've already had the conversation. Like, it's going to be out there in the world. I can promise you that. But no, and sincerely, thank you for the kind words. They genuinely do mean a lot to me. Now, people want to, see why exactly I have been gushing about this, delicious menu for Lord knows how long at this point. Go ahead and plug your stuff for the people at home. Where can people find more about you and the Cupid's Menu?
Yeah, so if you want to find me, I'm exe.south on Instagram and exesouth on Twitter and TikTok. I'm also on YouTube, but everything's on my card. If you go to any of my social medias, they should be on my biography, but yeah.
There you go. And if you missed any links, I'll be sure to have them in the description below so that people can go and find it and show that love and support right back to you. Do you have any final words before we sign off?
Let me think for a bit. What should I say? I guess I'm really happy to all the people who listen to this podcast on a regular basis, and people especially who watch today. And I'm just gonna say that to all creators who love creating, keep on doing what you do.
Keep on doing what you do. And with that, all I have left to say is, for the people at home, if you can, please pay your artists. Tell me what's wrong, tell me it's parts in motion. Sing me a song, tell me your eyes can open. Show me it all, pick me up in the car you drove when you used to call. Show me it all. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If this is your first time listening, I greatly do appreciate it. Like I said in the intro, what South was definitely serving up was something very interesting. I'm so glad I got her on the podcast to talk about this stuff. South, if you've gotten to this point, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And sincerely, I cannot wait to see more of the Cupid's Menu. Like, you got some really cool stuff going on here. Not just with, obviously the show itself and the interesting concept and different aspects, but also, the cool representation that's in there in one form or fashion. It's always interesting to see how artists and animators of all different forms and all different, walks of life and different mediums of art and animation and entertainment in general, it's always unique to see how they incorporate elements that don't really get a whole lot of time in the, spotlight, I think that's one of the things that I love and will continue to love when it comes to indie animation and such. The fact that people have the opportunity to tell stories that they never had the opportunity to beforehand. Take it into their own hands and tell the story the way it should be told. Tell the story that may not be told right otherwise. Especially with how weird and unique it could be when it comes to mainstream animation and how touchy they are about certain topics. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't need to elaborate. Especially not this month. But especially with what South is doing with the Cupid's Menu. Especially all the different elements that she's looking to incorporate with this. I'm genuinely impressed. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see how much it's going to be really seasoned throughout the show in one form or fashion. And that goes with anyone with whatever they're doing, however they can, to make sure that representation is there, but also while still telling an incredible story at the end of the day. Because that's what should be important more than anything else. Telling a good story that lets those elements that you incorporate into it really shine at a certain point. Not really overtake it, not outshine, not make it the most prominent plot point, but really allow the elements to come together and showcase that, like, hey, there's this cool story that features XYZ, and it's really cool. It's a good story at the end of the day. I can tell with the amount of time and care that South has been putting into the CUPID'S MENU, it's going to be a good story. And it should be like that with anyone that takes the opportunity to tell that story in one form or fashion. I mean, you'll certainly be seeing that with a lot of the guests I've had previously on the podcast, and Lord knows how many guests I'm going to have in future episodes. But just keep telling those incredible stories at the end of the day. If nothing else, they definitely need to be told.